All of the science said that if you had COVID, it was equivalent to 2 vaccines, 2 shots. So why would you kick out a soldier who had COVID because he didn't want to get 2 shots? It makes no sense logically. It's pure political manipulation, and our system allowed it to happen. Inside the Canadian Armed Forces, they had internal memos that told the Chief of Defense Staff that implementing a vaccine mandate universally across the board would be an illegal order. In addition, he was also told it wouldn't be effective and it wasn't necessary. And I have good faith basis from insiders who told me that the Chief of Defense told that to the Prime Minister's office. And he was told in no uncertain terms, I don't care. I want the military to be an example for everybody taking the vaccine. Make sure everybody takes it or kick them out. Bittersweet pill to swallow this week because the independent military review that analyzed the constitutionality of the vaccine mandate by the Canadian Armed Forces came out with their findings that the vaccine mandate was a legal order, that it was unconstitutional under Section 7, and it breached the charter rights of the Canadian Forces members who were forced to take it or be kicked out. The reason why it's bittersweet is I represented a lot of soldiers who were being kicked out. And what I want to emphasize with the audience or have a discussion on is why it seems like we're losing our grip on logic and fairness in exchange for political virtue signaling. And why are we letting our institutions, our brave soldiers, be kind of sacrificed for a political purpose? Now, what's clear by way of background? I know this because I've been in the federal court arguing this and I got access to some documents. Inside the Canadian Armed Forces, they had internal memos that told the Chief of Defense Staff that implementing a vaccine mandate universally across the board would be an illegal order. In addition, he was also told it wouldn't be effective and it wasn't necessary. And I have good faith basis from insiders who told me that the Chief of Defense told that to the Prime Minister's office. And he was told in no uncertain terms, I don't care. I want the military to be an example for everybody taking the vaccine. Make sure everybody takes it or kick them out. And so what ended up happening in our own Canadian forces, this vaccine mandate policy was implemented, even though they knew it was an illegal order, even though they knew it wasn't effective or necessary for the health, but they said it was because it was a political tool for the government. And they implemented the mandate and they kicked out 400 soldiers, sailors, and airmen and women who didn't take the vaccine. It was crushing for me to see good humans' lives destroyed. Not that I had a position on the mandate one way or the other, but the vast majority of the people who were kicked out had already had COVID. So this is what I mean when we lose our connection to logic. All of the science said that if you had COVID, it was equivalent to 2 vaccines, 2 shots. So why would you kick out a soldier who had COVID because he didn't want to get 2 shots? It makes no sense logically. It's pure political manipulation, and our system allowed it to happen. Nobody stood up. If I was a Chief of Defense Staff, I swear on my children's eyes that I would have resigned rather than kick out those people for a political purpose. Like, it gives me shivers because some of these people had served 20 years, 6 tours. They had an accumulated amount of skills that was so vital to the Canadian Forces. And we just cast them away. You know how long it takes to replace a signals intelligence operative, right? How valuable that is to Canadian security. But you kick them out because they didn't get a vaccine, and we're currently in a giant recruiting shortfall. We undermine the operational effectiveness of this nation. Prime Minister Trudeau's office put our safety at risk of our country in order to achieve a political aim that was vaccination virtue signaling, because they had COVID. So they posed no risk to anybody. And they were irreplaceable. It would take a decade to replace some of these people. And they were forced to pick up their family and leave a base, and they had served their country and they were treated like garbage, and nobody seems to care. But thankfully, this report from the MGERC, the author of it was really unpolitical and legally robust in the analysis. There's an amazing Section 7 analysis of why it was an illegal order. We need more people to engage in this discussion. But then what I was disgusted, I listened to this University of Ottawa legal professor get on there, and it was like he was employed by Pfizer just kind of finding BS reasons to support the Liberal government. I'm not sure if that's where he gets his funding from, but there is an absence of political courage to stand up to bullies. And we took this matter to the federal court, tried to get an injunction from stopping these guys and girls from being released. We failed because the federal court didn't feel like they had the power to do it. What is most disturbing is the way that the Canadian Armed Forces and the Chief of Defence Staff himself, he was the author of this under the instructions of the Prime Minister's office, they were told it would be an illegal order to order people to take the vaccine. But they made the order anyhow. And what you should do in that case is charge the service member with failure to obey a legal order. They didn't charge any of the service members with failure to obey an order because they knew it would constitutionally not hold up. So what they did instead is they engaged in an administrative review process that would kick them out of the military. And you want to know what the reason they kicked them out of the military for? Failure to follow a lawful order. So think of the intrigue there. They knew that they couldn't charge them because it wouldn't be successful, but for political purposes, they destroyed lives and kicked them out for failing to follow an order that they knew was illegal. And these are the people who have served and shed blood for this country. And our country has lost invaluable assets and loyal soldiers because Trudeau wanted to use our military as public policy pawns, and nobody seems to care. So this recent decision is bittersweet, as I said, because it validates the concerns we were raising, but too late, because I called out the Chief of Defence Staff yesterday on CTV News. And I said, if you want to do the right thing, you still have time to reclaim your honor. You're in charge of, you can't get promoted higher than the Chief of Defence Staff. So stop being a political coward. Bring them back. The problem the soldiers face is when we tried to get an injunction from the release, the federal court said, oh, there's a redress of grievance procedure that they can put a redress in. But it takes 3 to 5 years to get that done. So these soldiers, sailors, and air people are shit out of luck. They've been kicked out of the military. They got to wait 4 years to see if they can get back in. By then, it's too late. And the Chief of Defence Staff today, with this ruling, could bring them back. And it's not doing it because he's a coward. And it's just continuing in the policy I'm seeing in the leadership of the Canadian Forces is do dumb stuff and don't correct it when it's clear it was wrong. What concerns me at a macro level about this, at a micro level, it breaks my heart to know that these people were kicked out and their lives were destroyed. They were just they were used as tools by political douchebags. But what concerns me at a micro level is our society is losing the ability to reflect and make good decisions because this is not difficult. They just ruled it's unconstitutional, right? Why can't they sit down and learn from that and do the right thing? Instead, everybody is just digging into their position, making the other side an enemy and feeling like they're right at the expense of the public good. And I ask people, call your MPs and ask to get these soldiers reinstated because it might be a small amount, but they served our country and were totally used, abused, and treated horribly by the Canadian government. Your Canadian government, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, ruined their lives to make a vaccine virtue signaling statement, and the law was on our side. And as somebody who served my country, my disappointment in the senior leadership of the Canadian Forces could not be overstated. But I'll personally call out to you, General Wayne Eyre, the Chief of Defence Staff. I'll personally call out to you. It's not too late for you to be a man, right? You knew that the order was illegal. You bent at the knee to Justin Trudeau's office to be an obedient sycophant at the expense of the soldiers. You don't have anywhere else to go. If you want to be remembered as the coward who fucked over the soldiers, don't do anything and just stick to your guns. But you can be remembered as one of the few people who can reflect on what happened and did the right thing. Because as much as we all want to vilify Trudeau, what this situation tells everybody is that there's more cowards than Justin Trudeau, and a lot of them are at the headquarters of the Canadian Armed Forces.